Life is short and we take it too seriously. In my opinion, like a lot of people take themselves too seriously. I don't take myself too seriously. I laugh at myself. I laugh at things that happen around. Like I like to joke about everything, from politics to business to relationships to everyday stuff. Just laughing extends our lives. So that's how I look at that.
Your network is your net worth. Come listen to some of the most successful people I know share invaluable knowledge, stories, and advice in real estate, business, and beyond. This is Weiss Advice. Whether you want to take your business or personal life to the next level, look no further. Welcome back to Weiss Advice. I am your host, Yona Weiss, and today I am very fortunate to be joined by Michael Plaks of the real estate investing tax firm, REI tax firm, based out of Houston, Texas, somewhere outside Houston, Texas.
Yes.
And Michael, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. How you doing?
Oh, doing great. Thank you, Yona, for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and now talk to you, when it's recorded. Usually we talk when it's not.
Right. It's much safer that way.
Yeah, it is.
But, Michael, just to give you guys a little bit of a background, I'd like to give a little context before we get the conversation going. Michael is an enrolled agent. So an EA, you may have seen that abbreviation after a tax person's name, an accountant's name. It's a little bit different than a CPA, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'd love to share that information to our listeners. And he's been actually an immigrant from Russia, so that's very fascinating to me as well. Came over, I assume, after the Cold War ended, but maybe not. We'll see. Let's get into it. Without further ado, he's a very big contributor on Bigger Pockets. I love his knowledge and information he shares over there in the general real estate accounting business. There's a lot of people that share information, but he does it in such a way that makes you laugh pretty much every time that you read anything he has to say, including right, the good stuff, right? It's just, there's a way to present, and I think he's got that down. Besides for that, he is a martial artist, which is fascinating to me. I mean, you go there with your picture with the boxing gloves on and your Komodo, and I don't know what you call that thing you're wearing, but how do you do it? What's it all about? Tell me. Let's start with there. What's the image? What's the the profile of the martial arts and the tax? Beating up Uncle Sam. What's it about?
Yes, on my logo, and in my logo, I'm beating up Uncle Sam. Like he's social distancing right behind me. Somebody has to, and it started spontaneously. Like one day, I just had my martial arts uniform on, pictured with that, and that's how the logo started. But I call myself black belt in real estate taxation, so here is my black belt. And that indicates my thinking about. What I know about taxes. However, if I'm allowed a short anecdote about it, is in Asia, actually, black belt is considered the basic competence level, like completely different concept from how we look at black belt here. So,
right,
depending on how you want to look at that, I'm either black belt or basic level of competence, like one of the two you choose.
I understand. No, that's amazing. That's funny. So, I mean, that's really the approach that accountants would have, which I think is a bit of a different approach, which I love about you and a lot of other real estate focused accountants out there, that your focus is more of being a tax advisor more than a number pusher, right? You're not there to fill out tax forms, although you do that as well, because it's a lot more about your understanding, and you're able to, like you said, beating up Uncle Sam is not done by paying all the taxes that you think you are required to pay. It's actually applying strategies to be able to reduce that tax bill as much as possible. Is that accurate?
Yes, very much so.
Awesome.
Exactly.
So what is the difference between an EA, an enrolled agent, and a CPA? And why would one choose one over the other?
Frankly, people make too much fuss about that. Honestly, both designations are about equal when it comes to taxes. CPA is a state license in accounting, which is a much broader area. There is a lot involved in accounting. Taxes is a part of that. Enrolled agent is federal level license, specifically in taxation. So we are more of tax specialists. CPAs are broader, but both can do excellent work when it comes to taxes, have the same right, both have extensive training, continuing education requirements, code of ethics, and so on. So very, very comparable.
Understood. And you studied taxation in Russia as well before you immigrated to the United States?
Oh God, no, 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 absolutely not. Actually, me getting into taxation was a pure accident because I came with IT background. My original career was in IT, and then I learned that taxes, because my first job here was actually a self-employed IT person, and I quickly learned the importance of taxes. It was a survival skill, and the rest of the story. Then I got into that business. So now I am teaching other people how to save.
Awesome. That's amazing. And you had an interesting bout, a little, social media. I'm very observant when it comes to these type of things. A story came out a while ago that that you actually had a little bit of a experience in speaking, in public speaking, and were part of, the Toastmasters, which is, a well-recognized organization to help people learn how to public speak. And you won a contest. I mean, you actually won an award. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's been years ago, but
many years ago.
Many years ago, yes. And I actually came to that organization for the very wrong reason. I came hoping to boost my business and find prospects there. I was told that that's what I could do there. And then I realized, no, that's not what the organization was about. But actually, I would highly recommend to every real estate investor on the podcast to consider joining that organization, because every time you speak, like, it's called public speaking, but when you talk to a seller, this is a small version of public speaking.
Right.
You need to know how to present yourself. And in that organization, they give you wonderful training on how you can talk to people, how you can express yourself, make yourself concise and eloquent. So.
Well, you're doing a wonderful job here. Absolutely. It's I appreciate that. And what would you say is your favorite part about taxation?
Favorite part about taxation is actually, like, okay.
The trick question.
Well, because it has two parts. Okay. What is my favorite part about taxation, or what is my favorite part about tax advisor? I hear this as being two different questions.
Okay.
So in taxation, my favorite part is that it's absolutely great. Like, when I started in this business, I was working out of my home office, and my home office had a lot of different shades of gray. And I usually would point to my clients around the room, and I'm saying, look, choose the shade of gray. Like, my office here, like the new office, doesn't have that much gray. Like, this is like different color schemes. So I don't have that much to point out. But I do like the fact that it allows so much room for interpretation and for creative strategies. And opportunities always come when there are different strategies you can employ and different interpretations of the rules. And like you mentioned, I grew up in Russia. Our mode of operation was always like, let's screw the system. So, right. Okay. So you come here and you realize, well, I wouldn't exactly phrase it that way, but there is a lot of room to work within the system to your advantage. And that's my favorite part. As far as favorite part of being a tax advisor is, it's actually not numbers. I hate numbers. I'm an accountant, but I don't like numbers. I like people. My favorite part are consultations with my clients, because we have small talk. We talk about everything appropriate and inappropriate. We laugh, but we also discuss a lot of business stuff. So that communication and friendships with my clients is my favorite part of being in that business.
That's awesome. No, that's probably the most important part as well. That's and you add a lot of humor to it. I mean, like I said in the introduction, if you come across Michael in Bigger Pockets, you can't help but, like, almost every single thread, there's some wisecrack or some sarcastic thing over there. And if you didn't know any better, you'd think, like, what is this guy saying? But then if you actually read some of his content, it's very, well based, backed up, and it's very thought provoking a lot of times as well. Giving room for questions and things like that. But why the humor? It's not very common. I wish more people would do it like that, right? And on online forums, sometimes people are a little inappropriate, but here you do it in such a way that you just kind of spice up the the tax advice with the comedy.
It's very simple to me. Life is short, and we take it too seriously. In my opinion, like, a lot of people take themselves too seriously. I don't take myself too seriously. I laugh at myself. I laugh at things that happen around. Like I like to joke about everything, from politics to business to relationships to everyday stuff. Just laughing extends our lives. So that's how I look at that.
Yeah. So why is the picture of Uncle Sam behind you standing there with a mask on? You put that mask on him.
That's because, yes, like when I started my business, I used to do a lot of live presentations. I would go to local clubs,
right.
And I started carrying this cardboard cutout of Uncle Sam with me, and people started associating me with those like red gloves, like let's make a selfie, like give me a glove, I'll punch Uncle Sam too. So then I go to meetings in my normal attire, uh, regular shirt and pants, and people say, where are your red gloves? Like, aren't you the guy with the red gloves? So I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I need to keep wearing them, so even my logo in bigger pockets
it's
has
all
me in this uniform kind of.
It's branding. It's brilliant. I really think it is.
I'll credit actually one of my coaches. You mentioned Toastmasters, and one of my coaches is a world champion of public speaking from Toastmasters organization, who is a professional comedian. And I remember him saying in one of his classes, he said, "It's like, look, in my hometown, nobody remembers what I talked about, but everybody remembers I was the guy who jumped on the table in the middle of this speech." So I decided this, being a little obnoxious helps people remember you. So
That's
when
right.
they look at me and asking about red gloves, I think, yeah, that part of marketing worked.
That's
People
great.
at least know, the tax guy with the red gloves, got it.
That's awesome. I love it. And it does work. I mean, that's brilliant. That's what I love. That's one of the things I love about you also, is that you got the branding down and people remember that. And you say like the black belt in taxation. You're like, what? Like black belt in taxation? Like, what, what is that about? But it makes you think, and it kind of makes you remember you. And that's awesome. Let me switch gears a little bit here, because I'm actually a little curious. I don't know if you shared a lot about this, about your journey of coming over and emigrating from Russia during that time of history that was a kind of scary time. And can you talk a little bit about what it was like growing up in Russia and then coming over?
How many hours do we have?
No, we don't have. Can you sum it up in 90 seconds? No.
Well, growing up, everybody, when they are a kid, remember good stuff. There is always good stuff, no matter where you grow up. There was good, bad part, but I'll tell you this, because when we were interviewing and we came here as political refugees, and when we came here and were interviewed by United States government for our admission, we had to describe reason why we applied for being refugees. And as a Jewish people growing up in Russia at that time, it actually wasn't easy. But when you are in it, you don't feel it. When we started explaining that and started asking, well, I kind of look at each other, my God, it actually was kind of tough, right? But you get used to that, you don't notice. And then when you come here and realize the difference between freedom and non-freedom, that's quite a revelation.
Wow. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's one of the things that makes the United States as great as it is the freedoms that we're given. Absolutely. And kind of take for granted a lot of times. Do you see anything happening right now with, again, I'm switching gears back, because we're just having a conversation here. Obviously, a lot of people have made projections about what's going on right now in the current administration and the current tax thing. We concern ourselves much more with real estate than anything else, and I think real estate has probably some of the best laws in terms of taxation than any other industry out there. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I do. I do agree with that.
Do you see anything changing major in the current administration to that?
My crystal ball is no better than yours or anybody else's. It's broken.
I'm looking for a joke. That's what I'm.
Yeah. I predicted a lot of things recently, and very few of them came true. And nobody probably could predict what is going on right now. But I want to make a point that when I talk about political climate and how it affects real estate, is this: there is a lot of conversations right now about the threat that the new administration poses to real estate investors, and I think it's real. but not specifically to real estate investors, like wealth building and business in general. And certain things that we are so used to, like beneficial capital gain rates or 1031 exchanges and things like that, are in theory threatened. But they have been threatened for years. And every time I talk about it, I want to remind people that, look, when you look at the composition of Congress, even today, no matter what political affiliation they are, no matter what party they belong to, most of these people are wealthy business owners and real estate owners.
Yes, right.
And it's highly unlikely, in my opinion, for these people to vote for something that would hurt their own families. Like, people talk about, yes, okay, Biden had that proposal about elimination of step-up basis at death. And I'm thinking, it's like, how many congressmen would be actually cheering eliminating that break for their own families, facing their personal wealth to their kids and grandkids? So to me, drastic changes like that are potentially possible. Nothing is impossible in today's world, right. But I'm skeptical about a lot of these things happening, specifically based that these people are not, they tend not to shoot themselves in the foot. Yeah. You know, they like to choose other targets, like millionaires, sure, they're saying is okay. But owners of real estate, you know, as far as like break specifically to generational wealth, I find it hard to see happening in a drastic way. Now, small things is, yes, rates will probably go up somewhat, some breaks will disappear, a lot of breaks will be added that would favor low-income people. That's how society is shifting right now. Like, all of that, like, I see happening, but dramatic changes such as we're not going to have preferential rates at all for capital gains, not going to have 1031s, not going to have step-up basis at death. Again, that's my prediction, but I've been wrong before and I will be wrong again.
Yeah.
Look, that's, you know, as far as that stuff goes.
Absolutely. And I agree. I tend to agree with that. It's unfortunate, I think, and it's kind of strange, but it's kind of the society that we live in, that the politicians themselves are, in the end of the day, more concerned with their own well-being, you know, than, well, you know, the lower class. I think, and it is unfortunate, but I think it's just a way that politicians get into office. It's just a normal pattern, is they make all kinds of promises that they don't actually plan on keeping just to get votes. And it is an unfortunate thing. It's one of the things I hate most about politics, is just this complete dishonesty that just surrounds it, which is why I almost never talk about politics ever. But, you know, when it comes to, you know, how it's going to affect our businesses and how it's going to affect our real estate, the climate in general, I think it's important to kind of hash those things out.
Yes, but since it's so uncertain right now, like, people keep asking me and all of my colleagues, like, what should we do right now? You know, my answer to that is wait, you know, do what you normally do, you know, make money, accumulate wealth. We really don't know what is going to happen. Like, planning against such uncertain future is very difficult.
Absolutely. And no one can know. And even still, like, the truth of the matter is, even if something were to change, it usually takes a couple of years historically to make any of those major changes to happen once a new administration is in there. So either way, we got some time. Just keep doing the same thing you're doing.
Yep.
And let's jump right into the final four over here. The four questions that we ask every guest at the end of the episode, or towards the end of the episode, I should say. What is the worst job that you ever had?
Worst job that I ever had? Good question. Husband? Okay. The worst job was right after I graduated college. I worked in a corporate environment, and that was back in Russia in IT. And the thing about it, and actually it's not specific to Russia. I had a similar job here at one time too in IT. When you spend all day in your cubicle doing things and absolutely nobody gives a damn what you are doing. Like, before I quit my IT job for good and switched to my accounting business, like, that was like, I literally, like, I did these stupid things. It was stupid. I did it too early. But I walked into the office of my boss and said, look, you know, I'm starting my own accounting business. I'm out of here in 2 weeks. Bye. You know, but prior to that, I knew I was planning to do that. It is a bad experiment, very unethical experiment, but I did that. I stopped working. Like I was coming to work, but I was spending all day doing my own thing. And I was wondering, when will they notice? And they never did. It went on for months and months and months until I finally quit. And that probably was the worst thing. Yeah, I had all the time I wanted to do my thing, but very little satisfaction when nobody pays any attention to what you are doing, or in my case, not doing.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty sad.
Yeah.
I'm sure that happens still nowadays as
Yeah.
well. But
Well, in government, yeah.
well, yes, of course. Well, they turn the other cheek. I mean, that's a different story. People getting paid for doing nothing on purpose. But what is a book that you've read that's given you a paradigm shift?
A book that I read that gave me a paradigm shift. Okay, there are quite a few I could mention, but one specifically would be the book that one of my sons recommended that I read many years ago, and I resisted thinking that I was smarter than that, and I didn't need it until I finally read it and realized that I did need that book. The book was E-Myth Revisited by Mike Gerber.
Yeah.
The book that teaches you how to systematize your business and make it professional, make it a business. I had that same attitude that a lot of entrepreneurs have. Like, my business is unique. I cannot put systems in. I cannot do that. And then I start reading that book and I realize, how does he know my problems? Turns out every entrepreneur goes through the same problems and makes the same mistakes. So that book was very helpful when I finally suppressed my ego enough to listen to what the book had to teach me.
That's great. Yeah, it's an incredible book. Definitely a must read for anyone who is an entrepreneur or considering entrepreneurship whatsoever, or has an existing business. Definitely a must read there. Third question for you: what's a skill or talent that you would like to learn?
Wow. That would be a list of like a couple hundred things. Like a lot of things that I'm missing that I want to do. But as far as you mentioned my business is based in Houston, Texas right now. And one thing that would be really super helpful here if I could speak Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And when I have more time, that probably would be one of the things at the top of my list of skills to acquire.
Right.
But the list is very, very long.
Okay. Let's throw another one on the fire. Let's hear it.
Another one on the fire? Okay. I want to learn how to better prioritize my time, because there are so many things that ask for your attention, and that problem is not unique to me. I see it. We talk about that a lot with my clients. You are in real estate. You look around. There is so much you can do, and a very hard thing to do is focus on something, which means letting other things go. And I heard a quote long time ago, which I think is very accurate. I don't remember who the author of that quote was, but the quote was, "Success is the art of elimination." That spoke to me because it says is like, for example, in my business, which you mentioned, like my REI tax firm, we work exclusively with real estate investors. Exclusively, meaning you're not in real estate, we're not taking you as a client. Can I make money serving a client who is running a restaurant? Sure, I can. I know how to do that. But we only work with real estate investors. Being niche helps. Same for I tell to all of my clients. If you are going around saying, well, I can do anything, well, then you do nothing, essentially. If you are in real estate, you also need your niche. You need to choose what you are doing well, and then people would know. And if somebody asks, okay, I'm looking for a syndicator in Atlanta, I know a couple guys who are. But if I'm just saying well, I'm looking for somebody in real estate business nationwide, come on, that does not work that way.
Right.
So you have to be known as a specialist in something, just like you, like everybody knows you as a top cost segregation expert in the nation. I'm pretty sure that you could make money doing a few other things as well.
Right.
But you're like, the reason why we refer business to you is because we know you as a niche, like expert in a certain field, and people know other expert, and all of our real estate clients, those who have focus do better.
Exactly. No, and that's a very important. I'm glad you brought that up. It is so important. It can't be overlooked. I mean, the niche is so important, and it's really not that difficult to do. You just have to kind of find that niche and just go all in on it, and you will be more successful that way. Definitely agree with that. So, fourth and final question for you, Michael, today is: what does success mean to you?
Interesting question. Okay, I'll use a quote again, and that's like something definition that I read in one of the books years ago, and I like the definition of success. They said success is when making more money will not change what you do, where you live, and who you sleep with.
No, I think you added that last part. Oh man, but yeah, I hear that. I agree with that. That's funny because
also I think accurate too.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a lot of people like to think that they'll be more generous when they have more money. For example, I've heard this time and time again, and the truth of the matter is, it's not true. If you're generous when you have very little money, you'll be generous when you have more money. If you're stingy when you have little money, you'll be stingy when you have more money. So I definitely agree with that. You have to live the life that you want to live, and money really is not the guiding factor. Absolutely. Michael, where can our listeners find you or reach out to you if they choose to? Obviously, I mentioned you're very active on Bigger Pockets. You can find him there.
Yes.
But where else?
Anywhere where you're looking for my name, like if you Google Michael Plaks, but really the easiest way is through my tax firm website. The firm is called REI Tax Firm. So if you literally spell REI taxfirm.com, you go to my web page and you can find me from there. You can find me on Bigger Pockets. I'm pretty active on Facebook. You have your own group. I also have a group like ROI Tax and Legal Wizards. So like a lot of different places, but Bigger Pockets, Facebook, and company website.
Awesome.
Those three places.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Michael. It's been a tremendous pleasure speaking with you today. It really has. I wish we had more time for this, but I like to keep it short and sweet for our listeners to be looking for more, right? They're thirsting for more, but thank you again. I appreciate your time.
Okay. Thank you, Yona. That was a pleasure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And to all of our listeners, remember the best advice comes only when you ask. Real quick, I have one question for you. Did you like this episode? If you did, I want to ask you a huge favor. See, the biggest thing that helps this podcast grow and that will spread this message to the whole world is that if you leave a review, a rating, and subscribe to the podcast. What that does is it basically tells the platforms that this podcast is out on is that you like my stuff and I'm doing something right. So take a few seconds out of your day, hit that subscribe button, leave a rating or review. I would be extremely grateful. Also, I want to hear from you guys. So I want to hear some feedback. If you have any questions for future episodes, please find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM, a connection request, Yona Weiss, and I'd love to hear from you.